Hey guys, it's Kayla here from Journey Dog Training, here with our next Training Tuesday. If you guys can go ahead and give a like and send me a little comment, let me know you're here, let me know where you're coming from. That just lets me know you're here. Today, Barley and I are going to work on some door greetings and jumping up. We're also going to talk about puppy nipping. Obviously, I have a nearly 5-year-old dog now, so I won't be able to demonstrate puppy nipping for you guys, but I do have a dog here. We can talk a little bit about how to deal with puppy nipping. Barley also doesn't tend to jump up, but we can still talk about it. So again, Kayla here from Journey Dog Training. We are going to be talking about door greetings, jumping up, and puppy nipping today for Training Tuesday. So let's get right to it with the door greetings. Barley is lying right here, right below you guys. I'm going to tilt you guys down a little bit just so you can see him. You might lose track of my head here and there. But what's really important is a treat pouch, my hands, and the dog. So you guys won't miss me too much. All right, scoot you back, roll you down. All right, so the door. The door is a big deal for a lot of dogs. It means people are coming over, which is either an awesome thing or a terrible thing, depending on your dog. Sometimes it's just, most dogs, it's pretty exciting, you know? So there are kind of two different aspects of door manners. There's the actual barking at the door, barking at the doorbell. That's really hard. There also is the actual kind of attacking of the guests, whether that is super friendly or maybe not necessarily as friendly, just getting people in and out of the door. I guess there's actually 3 aspects, because then that third aspect is going to be dogs that try to bolt out the door when you go. So teaching your dog a lot of zen around the door is really helpful. So we're going to start out with what would often be that first step of someone coming over, which is the knock or the doorbell. My first recommendation when you are working on a dog with door manners is to get a nice little sign. I just shared a picture earlier on Journey Dog Training and put it right here so you guys can see there's a little window right here. I can easily paste a little sign right there that says, "Dog in training, please call before ringing doorbell," and then have the phone number. That way you can go and you know someone's about to ring the doorbell. You can give them some instructions, and generally what I recommend is telling them, hang tight, I'm going to grab some treats, I'm going to put the dog wherever it is that we're working on, and then we're going to get going. That will really, really help your training. And you know, that might be all you need to do, because all you're going to do is, okay, someone rang the doorbell, I'm going to put the dog, or someone called me, they did not ring the doorbell, I'm going to put the dog in the back bedroom, I'm going to put the dog in the crate, I'm going to put the dog in the backyard. Or what I used to do is I lived in an upstairs apartment. People couldn't even get into the building, let alone knock on my door. So they would call. I would put Barley on leash. We walked down the stairs together. He greeted the person outside where he's much less excitable. And then we went up together. So if you just put up a sign like that, that might be all you need to do. And then from there, you can figure out whatever plan works for you. Again, my actual favorite is to take the dog, put him on leash, greet someone outside together. In general, that alone is really going to help your door greetings, because you're not actually dealing with the door. You take the excitement out of the door. It's just going to be a lot easier. So anyway, step 1, put that sign up, get other people working with you, and make sure you can get prepared, because let's be real, even me, a professional dog trainer, I don't actually walk around with a treat pouch on my hip at all times. And you know, even if you're really, really good and you've got a mason jar full of treats right here, right next to the door, you need to be prepared when someone's coming over. You might know someone's coming over at 4. Anyway, this really helps. So from there, then what I recommend doing is one of 2 things. You can teach your dog that when someone's at the door, the dog's job is to go away from the door, be that to go lie on a mat, to go grab a toy. One of those 2 things is usually the best option. Or 2, what I actually personally have found easier with my own dog, although I've successfully trained other dogs to do those other 2, is all we're doing is desensitizing him to the doorbell, because he actually isn't that excited or upset about the people coming in. It really just seems to be the doorbell. So I'm going to show you that option today so that we're not overloaded with 3 different things to talk about in Training Tuesday today. So what that's going to look like is, starting out, I find knocks easier to work on than the doorbell, and so that's what we're going to start with. Is I'm actually just going to do something like this. Good. So there we go. That's it. So Barley was sleeping. His head was down. His eyes were half closed. When I knocked that door, whoa, what's that? What's that? He saw that I was right here. He looked at me. I gave him some treats. So, good. And I'm actually going to toss that treat away from the door. That in general is what I would rather have you guys do here. So I'm going to, again, back you up so you can see him more clearly because he's really what's important here. So there's the dog. Tossing the treat away. He's chasing it away. Again, what that does, what the chasing does, is that helps get him away from the door, which is really, really helpful in the long term. So obviously Barley's kind of caught on to this game a little bit here, but what we're gonna actually do is I'm gonna keep practicing, and long term what you guys can do is you can have someone else go outside, knock on the door, come in, drop treats, or you can have someone else outside, knock on the door, you drop treats, then the person comes in. That's really more ideal. So I'm going to show you guys what that would look like if you're going to do this all alone, but really this is going to be a lot easier to do with a friend, coworker, friend, family member, whatever. Again, because obviously I can work on this knocking stuff. Barley actually has done this a couple times before, so he did not react as much as he once did. When I first got him, and you guys might experience when you do these fake knocks, you might actually still get a pretty big reaction out of your dog. Keep practicing that until you don't get a reaction. So here's what I would do. You guys are going to see me go outside. I'm going to wait a little bit, then I'm going to knock on the door, come inside, feed the dog. Again, ideally, you would have someone else staying here, feeding the dog, while another person goes outside to knock on the door. Just me here today, so I will demonstrate kind of that whole sequence as if, maybe you live way out in the country, no one wants to drive out and see you. Maybe you're an introvert and don't want people coming over. Whatever, that's fine. We'll show you guys kind of that whole sequence. Good boy. So Barley's caught on. I guarantee you guys, normally, if he's surprised, he does knock at the door or bark at the door. I'm gonna do this one more time. I'm gonna go out. I'm gonna ring the doorbell, and we'll see if that gets a little bit more of a reaction out of him. But what you guys are kind of seeing and hearing, or not seeing and not hearing, because Barley is doing really well, is that final product of the technique that I'm showing you guys right now. I was kind of hoping Barley was gonna be barking at the door for us today, but it's a testament to this system and to this training method that he actually is refusing to bark for Training Tuesday. So I'm gonna go out, try the doorbell. I'm gonna be outside for a couple seconds here. Don't miss me too much. I'm just gonna try to wait a little bit longer so that Barley, maybe, he's a pretty smart guy, maybe is not quite so sure that it's actually me at the door. I'm also gonna see if I can walk away in his eyesight so he sees me leaving. So there's a bark, and you'll notice I'm still feeding, right? And that's because what I'm actually trying to teach Barley is that this is no big deal. Ideally, we're going to get to a place where he's not barking at the door, but feeding him is going to help lower that threshold of stress, anxiety, whatever. And I know a lot of you guys are sitting there screaming, but Kayla, you just fed your dog when he barks. Didn't you just teach him to bark? It's counter conditioning. You're teaching him that doorbell equals food. Eventually that barking becomes irrelevant and it does not earn him food. I promise you that the barking does go away, even if you are feeding when the dog barks, because you are teaching him that that doorbell means food. It doesn't mean, anything to be upset about. Again, one of the biggest things you guys can do is just keep practicing this. Try to practice with other people as well. And you can be practicing different things, such as if I went outside, put on a big long trench coat and a hat, and then had Andrew feeding Barley when I came back, that would be a situation where actually I would not want to be feeding him, just because that's going to be a lot more stressful for him. But continuing to practice the fact that that doorbell does mean a food. You don't have to bark. That food is also going to lower anxiety levels, because generally dogs are barking at the door because they're excited to see someone. And in that case, you can teach an alternate behavior like grabbing a squeaky toy. That's really great. But a lot of dogs, Barley included, he's actually pretty tense around the door. As soon as he sees the person, he loosens up. He's all good. But that doorbell is pretty stressful for him. His tail is either down and low, or it's curved all the way up over his back. He's relatively tense. If you've got a dog that's a little tense around the door, then absolutely feeding food around the door is a really, really great way to work on it. So the other aspect is when people are coming into your house. Is your dog jumping on them? Are they trying to dart out the door? All of these things. We're going to cover jumping up here in a second, because that was actually already something you're going to deal with. But let's talk a little bit about dogs that try to dart out the door. One of the #1 recommendations that I have for you guys is put your dogs on leash. If you are stepping on their leash or holding their leash, they can't get out that front door. This is especially important if you don't have a yard or you are near a big, busy highway, anything like that. You know, trying to do stuff like that is really going to help. That's honestly your best bet. If you've got a really big, busy household and you're worried about that working, then here are some other options. One of my favorites is if you've got a mudroom or any other entryway, figuring out how to section it off. So maybe you've got to step over a baby gate to get in or out. Your dog might be able to jump that baby gate, but it's definitely going to slow them down. You're a lot less likely to lose your dog if you've got that baby gate going. And if you've got an entryway like this one behind me, you can get what's called an X pen or an exercise pen. Just set it up in a semicircle around. It's a little awkward, it's a little ugly, but especially while you're still working on it and your dog is still pretty tempted to dart out those front doors, I would really suggest sticking with a management tool like that, because it could save your dog's life, and you can work on training. Eventually you can get rid of that ugly, awkward baby gate if you so choose, but really working on keeping everyone safe first off is the most important thing. So I'm going to scoot you guys forward again, because I'm going to be hanging out closer to the door. Here we go. So what I would do, and you're going to see Barley is now in frame around the door, is I really teach Barley that, and all dogs that I work with, that sitting is what opens the door. So I'm going to ask him to sit, and he's going to back up instead. We've been working on a lot of back up. I'm going to ask him to sit. When he sits, I open the door. That is his reward. I'm not necessarily going to feed. When he, if he pops up, I close the door again, and we repeat. So yes, this is using a little bit of what trainers call negative punishment, which is that if he stands up, his punishment for standing up is that that door closes. I am going to be really careful with noses and toes, so I do not want to hurt him in this process. But you are going to see me using a little bit of that negative punishment of closing the door on him if he does pop up out of a sit. And we're just going to work on being zen out of the door. And that's the #1 exercise that I want you guys to work with door greetings. So here we go. Sit. Yeah. Good. So what I'm doing here is if he looks back at me instead of at the door, he gets a piece of kibble. He's doing super great here. Good. We'll give him a little jackpot, 5 pieces of kibble. So that was really great. You guys are probably not going to see that the first time around. You might get a lot of asking your dog to sit. Your dog might be so excited about the door here, guys, that he's bouncing out of his skin. In that case, then I don't even want you guys to try to open the door on the first day. I want you guys to just practice sitting at the door. Relax. Feed him. Feed him his whole dinner by sitting at the door. That's totally okay. Once you guys do that for a while, you guys, you are going to see your dog getting more relaxed around the door. You're not going to have to worry as much about it. And eventually you can build up to asking him to sit. Cracking open the door. Good. Rewarding if they stay still. Closing the door if they pop up. So that's really what I do around doors. That's just one simple exercise, good place to start. Let's talk about jumping up, that last step of a guest coming in. So if you've got a guest coming into your house, there are kind of three main pieces of advice that a lot of people say you should do when your dog is jumping up on someone. Number one is going to be, a lot of places will suggest kneeing your dog in the chest. I don't like that. Some really rough and tumble breeds, like pit bulls I used to work with at the shelter, kind of seemed to think that was a fun wrestling game. Other dogs like Barley, he's pretty sensitive to touch. That's really upsetting for him. So it can go one of two ways as far as the extremes. Neither way works super well. I don't like it. So number one, you can knee the dog in the chest. Number two is turn your back on the dog. That does work relatively well with a lot of dogs. So I still recommend that. Number three is one that Patricia McConnell suggests, and I had never heard of it before, but I actually really like it, is right as that dog is jumping up, you take a slight step forward or even lean forward a little bit, leaning from, I guess, the hips rather than bending at the waist into that jump. And you stepping in to take that space up often is enough to kind of throw the dog off and realize that is not a great idea. So those are kind of my two. I really personally like stepping into the dog's space as they're trying to jump up. And this is not an aggressive step in. I am not trying to hurt or scare or intimidate the dog. I am just saying, okay, if you're jumping up into me, I'm going to take a step forward into you. I'm really small, guys. I'm 5'1". I don't know if you can tell that on screen. So that is really, really helpful for me. If you are a 6'7" dude, you might be better served by doing the turn your back method because you don't want to be intimidating the dogs quite so much. For me, again, I'm not trying to scare them. I'm not trying to really get in their space, but I will do a little bit of a lean or a step forward into dogs that jump on me. That often works better for me than getting away from them because, again, I am pretty small. A lot of dogs, when I'm trying to get away, that then becomes a game. Last thing, well, not last thing. One of the other things I will say about jumping up is all of the no, bad, sit down, get off. All of that stuff for a lot of dogs is just attention. And that is what they are generally after when they're coming up into your space like that. So even if you are trying to deter them from jumping up, doing anything like that at all often encourages it. So I would really much rather see you guys being very calm, quiet, collected. You are giving that dog none of the social reward that he's seeking, and you're either stepping forward or turning your back. You guys can try it for yourselves. Try it with your own dog. Try it with dogs on the street. You can kind of figure out which one's going to work for you. Good play. Barley thinks this is the most boring training Tuesday we've done in a while here. So those are kind of the two big things. Really avoiding, I don't like the kneeing, I don't like the pushing or the scolding. All of that often kind of makes it into a fun game for dogs that are looking for social attention. The last thing I will say is when I am greeting a dog that I would like to greet, and we're not specifically working on jumping up, if I'm working with a client, I'm not going to do this, but if I would like to say hi to the dog, what I actually will do is I'm going to make it easy for them because most dogs are jumping up because they want to say hi. They greet familiar dogs by licking them in the face, licking them near the mouth. That's really, really common. So I actually am going to make it easier for them and come down to them. So I'm going to flip you guys down a little bit here. When I'm greeting a friendly dog that seems to want to say hi to me, I want to say hi to them, I'm just going to get down on one knee. Barley is just going to shake my hand. He's a gentleman. Most dogs are going to want to get to sniff you, figure out what you ate for breakfast, get to know you a little bit. If you guys are working, all done, down. If you guys are working with a dog or greeting a dog that potentially might not be so friendly, like actually this Airbnb we're staying in, last night when we came in, the host's dog was pretty boofy, I would say. So she was doing a lot of barking and almost short charging us, was really trying to stay in between us and her owner. She was pretty nervous about us. I did not get down and let her sniff my face there. I did not put my face nearer to those teeth. I also didn't want to do anything that she might perceive as really weird, and that might upset her more. So what I did with her instead is I actually asked if he had any treats. And I just kind of stood there chit-chatting with him, being pretty calm, not staring at the dog. and just tossed a couple treats to her. She was fine. So those are kind of your two things. If you've got a dog that's jumping up, clearly is really friendly, and you would like to say hi, make it easy for them. Make it so they don't have to jump up. Get down on their level. If you've got a dog that's a little bit sketchier, then don't. Then do one of the other two methods. If you've got a dog that's really sketchy, guys, and you're really worried about, I would not step into their space or turn away from them. I would spray them with citronella spray. So if you've got a dog that you are really, truly concerned about, potentially an off-leash dog that seems really scary, don't do any of these things. But for most dogs, and again, we're kind of talking about door greetings here, what you're going to be wanting to do is either step into their space, turn around, or get down at their level and let them sniff. You often can ask the owner, too, kind of what they would prefer. If someone asks me, I absolutely would want them to get down and let Barley say hi, as long as they're not doing a lot of this sort of stuff. Barley actually really hates having people in his face, and a lot of dogs do as well. So that's the big thing. Let them come to you, but don't do the primate like face grab. Like Great Aunt Muriel or whatever, who's like pinching your cheeks. Dogs don't like that any more than kids do. Do not do that with a strange dog. They're on a bit of a tangent there. That's okay. So let's talk a little bit about puppy nipping. All right, I'm actually enjoying sitting, so I'm gonna rotate you guys down so I can just sit here with Barley for the rest of our training session. So, puppy nipping. I know it's kind of puppy season. It's still summer, so we've got a lot of puppies out there in the world. Puppy nipping is totally normal. It's also pretty frustrating, and especially with really young puppies, it can be really painful. So I really recommend kind of coming in with a puppy prepared. So I will generally have treats, chewies, or toys prepared when I'm coming in to see puppies, especially if you can do things like spoonfuls of frozen peanut butter, stuff that really keeps them busy. Those are my favorite. And then when you're coming down here saying hi to the puppy, loving on the puppy, if they start getting mouthy with you, you have two different options. You can either give them something else in their mouth that gives them something else to chew on, because they're teething, they're mouthing, they really, really want something in their mouth. That's a really great option. Option number two, either you're unprepared or it seems like they're actually much more interested in your hands and your wrists than they are in the food, which also is not uncommon. Then I would go ahead and just, puppy's mouthing you, I would remove your hands and stand up. Good boy. Give them like 10, 20-second timeout, come back, try it again. If that's not working and the puppy is immediately going back to mouthing you, then I would actually give the puppy something else to do. Give the puppy a little bit of a break. They might need to spend some more time chewing, sleeping. Puppies can often, just like children, almost look hyperactive when they're actually exhausted. So that's kind of another thing to keep in mind here. So again, the biggest thing that you can do for puppy mouthing, if you're just in a situation where you don't necessarily want to train, you just want to get out of it, you can offer them something else to put in their mouth, or you can just remove your hands, stand up. I don't want any muzzle grabbing, no alpha rolling, no biting the puppy back, none of that stuff, because the puppy is playing and you being rough can either do one of two things. Teaches them that, hey, I'm someone who likes rough play, let's keep doing this. Or it teaches them, I'm someone who's really scary and kind of mean, and you're not really going to want to be around me. And also, again, sometimes when puppies are scared, they're weird, they're babies, they might actually get more hyperactive even when they're actually a little scared of you. As far as actually teaching your puppy not to mouth you, I would actually just keep doing those two big things, and then I would work on a lot of Zen training. So if you go to journeydogtraining.com, Karen Overall's relaxation protocol, also known as mat training, it's one of my most read blog posts. I'll go ahead and post this right after I get offline here on Journey Dog Training's Facebook page, so you guys can go ahead and read it. That is one of the best things that I have found for teaching puppies and also adult dogs to just kind of relax in increasingly distracting situations. A young puppy is not going to be able to go through the whole thing just yet, so don't expect that. But teaching puppies, not just that, hey, when you mouth, playtime is over, which is really the biggest lesson we want them to learn. Again, that's just negative punishment. You're just removing what they want if they do something you don't like. And then teaching them to relax in increasingly distracting and exciting scenarios, and then making them a chew toy addict. So giving them chew toys to play with, giving them tasty things to play with, that's really going to help teach them that they should put their mouths on something that is not you. And the thing that I find with puppy mouthing that is the hardest is it's hard for us. It's hard for you guys. You've got a brand new baby puppy. You want to be cuddling it. And it's really, really hard when I am telling you that if the puppy mouths you, I want you to put a stop with playtime. And if that puppy is continuing to jump up after you or bite at your pant legs, doing anything else that is really not going to be very fun, especially as the puppy gets older, I want you guys to actually find a way to leave, which might mean putting the puppy in the crate, putting the puppy in the X-pen, you stepping into the bathroom for a couple seconds. And just, again, I want this to all be very calm because I don't want you guys to rile the puppy up or scare the puppy with what you're doing. So that's kind of the quick and dirty, couple different exercises for each of those three things. That was a lot. Do we have any questions, comments, concerns, anything else we wanted to talk about before we go offline? All right, you guys know where to find me. You can always reach out to me at Kayla@journeydogtraining.com. If you guys want to go ahead and share this video, that's a really, really great way for more people to find me, find this. And we will be back next week. And what I think we're going to do is we're actually going to take Barley on a walk and do some reactivity work using trees as if they were dogs, so you guys can kind of see a full arsenal of different tricks for working on reactive dogs. So that's what we'll be working on next week unless anything has changed. I'm in Portland right now and the air quality is terrible. So if I decide I don't want to be outside next week for Training Tuesday, we might come up with something else. As always, feel free to let me know if you've got questions, comments, things you want to see in Training Tuesday, and we'll see you next week.